Cold sweat dripped down Brian's forehead at 3 in the morning. For 20 years, the factory in Ohio had been his safe haven. Now, calls from collectors and the fear of losing the home where his children grew up haunted him. His wife's illness had turned his steady salary into dust before the middle of the month. Brian wasn't unemployed, but bankrupt. His story is that of millions of Americans who, even with a fixed income, live on the brink of financial collapse. This is The Awakening. Mark, a 50-year-old war veteran living in Phoenix, Arizona, found himself at a dead end when chronic back pain prevented him from working full-time as a truck driver, a profession that had always sustained him. Medical bills began to accumulate rapidly, despite his health insurance. Complex surgeries, endless physical therapy sessions, and expensive medications. Each envelope that arrived in the mail was a new blow, a reminder of the overwhelming cost of his health. He soon realized that his insurance, though seemingly good, covered only a fraction of the actual costs, leaving him with exorbitant deductibles and co-pays. Mark tried to ignore the debts for a while, hoping a miracle solution would appear, but the financial burden became unbearable, suffocating any hope of recovery. With each unpaid bill, shame prevented him from asking for help, isolating him further in his silent despair. The causes of personal bankruptcy in the U.S. are multifaceted and often interconnected, but some consistently stand out. Experts point out that unexpected medical expenses are, by far, one of the main reasons, even for those with insurance. A study by the American Journal of Public Health revealed that medical expenses were responsible for about 66.5% of all personal bankruptcies in the U.S. The intricate and expensive American healthcare system, with its high deductibles, copays, and inflated costs of medications and procedures, can quickly drive families to financial ruin, turning a health emergency into an economic catastrophe. Another dominant factor is job loss, or a significant reduction in income. Data from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau indicate that instability in the job market, underemployment, or the inability to work due to illness or injury are major contributors to insolvency. Furthermore, the excessive and irresponsible use of credit, especially cards with abusive interest rates and student loans, which total over $1.7 trillion in debt in the U.S., are also notorious culprits. Many graduates find themselves in a financial trap even before starting their careers, with monthly payments consuming a large portion of their salaries. The widespread lack of financial literacy, the absence of a robust emergency fund, and the accumulation of debts such as mortgages or car loans that exceed one's ability to pay complete the picture of the main causes leading American citizens to the brink of the abyss. Mark's situation was a classic example of bankruptcy caused by overwhelming medical expenses and the consequent impact on his ability to generate income. His initial approach of ignoring the bills only worsened the problem, as interest and additional fees accumulated, making the debt an insurmountable mountain. The analysis of his case revealed the urgent need for proactive and strategic intervention. The method of overcoming this for Mark began with the immediate search for specialized legal and financial assistance. He sought an attorney specializing in consumer law who advised him on available options, including the possibility of negotiating debts directly with hospitals and creditors. Many hospitals and healthcare providers, to avoid costly collection processes, have financial assistance programs or significant discounts for patients who demonstrate an inability to pay. He was also advised to review his health insurance to better understand its coverage and limitations, and to seek specific government assistance programs for veterans, many of which offer support for medical expenses, rehabilitation, and even housing. Negotiating with his medical debt creditors was a slow and exhausting process, but crucial, where he managed to significantly reduce the total amount owed and establish more realistic and manageable payment plans. The most important lesson Mark learned was the importance of not delaying facing the problem and of seeking professional help. Shame and fear prevented him from seeking assistance for a long time, but by taking the first step, he discovered that resources and people were willing to help him navigate that financial labyrinth. He realized that negotiation was a powerful tool, and that many creditors prefer to receive a portion than lose everything in a bankruptcy process. Today, Mark still deals with his chronic pain, but the overwhelming pressure of debt has significantly decreased. He has managed to establish a manageable payment plan for his remaining medical expenses and is exploring new flexible employment options that suit his health condition, such as telework or consulting roles. His experience reinforces that, although the causes of bankruptcy can be overwhelming, seeking specialized help and taking decisive action can open unexpected paths to recovery and the rebuilding of financial security. Jessica, a 28-year-old single mother from Houston, Texas, felt panic tighten its grip when the eviction notice arrived in her mailbox, on a rainy day that seemed to mirror her state of mind. After unexpectedly losing her job at a retail chain where she had worked for years, she found herself in a race against time to pay rent and basic bills. Unemployment benefits alone were insufficient to cover all the expenses for her small family, and the pressure of supporting her children made her feel trapped, as if there were no way out. She sold some personal items on Facebook Marketplace, cut superfluous expenses, but the hole seemed only to grow, swallowing any hope. The refrigerator was sparsely stocked, and she began relying on food banks and the embarrassing help of relatives, which shamed her deeply. Her biggest fear was not being able to keep a safe roof over her children's heads, whom she saw as her sole responsibility and source of motivation. Getting out of a deep financial hole requires more than just cutting expenses. It demands a strategic action plan, a lot of discipline, and often an extra dose of humility to seek help. One of the first and most effective strategies is debt renegotiation. Instead of ignoring creditors, who might intensify collections and initiate legal proceedings, proactively reaching out to discuss options can result in lower interest rates, extended payment plans, or even partial debt forgiveness. Many financial institutions and creditors, especially landlords, prefer to renegotiate rather than face the costly and time-consuming process of bankruptcy or eviction. Another vital strategy is the creation of a tight or crisis budget, where every dollar is allocated for a specific purpose, prioritizing essential needs and paying off the most urgent debts. This means temporarily eliminating all non-essential expenses and even some luxuries considered basic in normal times. The search for additional income streams, even temporary and modest ones, is fundamental to accelerating recovery. This can include freelance work, selling products, or utilizing idle assets. The growth of the gig economy offers numerous flexible opportunities to supplement income. For those in more extreme situations, debt consolidation, or as a last resort, filing for bankruptcy can be options to consider, but always with professional guidance, as they significantly impact one's credit history for many years. In Jessica's case, the pressure of eviction forced her to act quickly, abandoning the paralysis of fear. Her problem analysis revealed that the absence of a contingency plan for job loss left her completely exposed. She needed not only income, but immediate debt management and support to help her out of that desperate situation. The method of overcoming this for Jessica began with seeking out nonprofit credit counseling agencies, a vital resource for many Americans in distress. She found a local organization that helped her negotiate with her landlord for a temporary payment plan, explaining her situation and how much she was willing to do to avoid eviction. With their help, Jessica secured a 30-day delay in eviction, gaining precious time to restructure. In parallel, she activated her network and, through a friend, found a temporary job at a diner while looking for something more stable in her field. She also started selling handicrafts online, using her manual skills to generate additional income, however small, selling at local flea markets and on platforms like Etsy. Every extra dollar was directed towards the most urgent expenses, like food and transportation. Debt consolidation for her credit cards wasn't a viable option due to her lack of steady employment and compromised credit history. So the focus was on negotiation and increasing income creatively. The practical conclusion of Jessica's journey is resilience, adaptability, and the importance of seeking community support. She learned that even in the most desperate situations, there are paths and people willing to help, as long as one has the courage to ask. Accepting help and seeking knowledge were crucial for her recovery. Instead of closing herself off in despair, she opened herself to available solutions, even if they were small daily victories. Today, Jessica has a new full-time, stable job with benefits and has managed to regularize her housing situation by renting a smaller, more affordable apartment. Her handicraft sales continue as an extra income source and a therapeutic hobby, and she has begun to build a small emergency fund, albeit slowly, to prevent future crises. Her story is a testament that financial recovery is a gradual process that requires courage to face reality, seek support, and implement a plan step by step, trusting in one's own ability to overcome. David, a 23-year-old recent graduate in New York, could hardly believe the freedom he felt when he landed his first well-paying job at a tech startup. For the first time in his life, he had real money. Driven by the euphoria of independence, he was motivated to buy a new car and take trips with friends to trendy destinations. Spending on delivery apps, expensive dinners at fashionable restaurants, and the latest tech gadgets, all without much thought about the long-term consequences. His parents always warned him about the importance of saving and investing, but David thought adulting meant being able to spend without limits. Quickly, his bank account balance began to dwindle, and the credit card, which once seemed like a bonus welcome to professional life, became an overwhelming burden. He found himself caught in a vicious cycle of paying the minimum on his bill and using credit again, without understanding how to get out, feeling ashamed and confused. The salary that once seemed large now barely covered car payments, monthly bills, and basic expenses, and the idea of saving money seemed like an unattainable fantasy. David's story is a classic example of the lack of financial literacy, a common mistake that leads many Americans to bankruptcy, even those with good incomes. The lack of knowledge about how to manage one's own money is one of the biggest gaps in the educational system. Basic financial mistakes include, first and foremost, the absence of a budget, which prevents any control or visibility over where money is being spent. Many live in a spend first, think later mode, without a plan or goals for their finances. Another serious mistake is underestimating the power of compound interest, not in their favor for investments, but voraciously against them in the case of debt. The imprudent use of credit cards and high-interest loans, like payday loans or car title loans, is a fast and dangerous path to chronic indebtedness. Furthermore, the failure to build an emergency fund is a mistake that leaves people completely vulnerable to unexpected financial shocks, such as job loss, urgent medical expenses, or major home repairs. The absence of clear financial goals, such as saving for a down payment on a house for retirement, or for their children's education, is also a serious problem because without defined objectives, money is spent aimlessly dissipating into immediate consumption. Finally, ignorance about basic investments and reliance on quick-rich schemes instead of sound long-term strategies also significantly contribute to the financial instability of millions of Americans. The analysis of David's situation showed that his problem was not a lack of income, but rather a glaring lack of knowledge and discipline to manage it. He didn't understand the fundamental concept of paying yourself first, nor the devastating impact of his impulsive spending habits in the long run. His method of overcoming this began with a deep and self-directed dive into financial education. He read books by renowned authors on personal finance, watched free online seminars and educational videos on YouTube, and most importantly, sought a financial mentor, a more experienced colleague who had already overcome similar financial challenges and was willing to share his lessons. His mentor taught him how to create a realistic and detailed budget, categorizing his expenses and identifying obvious areas where he could cut expenses without compromising his quality of life. David's first concrete action was to automate his savings. He set up an automatic transfer of a small percentage of his salary to a separate, inaccessible savings account, even before paying his bills. He also learned to use his credit card strategically, paying the full statement balance every month to avoid interest, and build a good credit history, crucial for future loans. He adopted the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt. The practical conclusion for David was that knowledge is power, especially in finance. He learned that managing money isn't about deprivation or misery, but about making smart, conscious choices that lead to true financial freedom and the realization of his dreams. Discipline, built through small, consistent daily habits, was the key to transforming his situation. Today, David is not only completely free of credit card debt, but is also actively saving for the down payment on his first home and investing for his retirement. He still enjoys life, but with awareness and responsibility, knowing that every dollar has a purpose and that his financial choices today directly impact his future. He has become a fervent advocate for financial literacy, sharing his lessons and experiences with friends and family, showing that it's possible to change one's financial trajectory with the right tools and knowledge. Maria and Carlos, a couple aged 40 and 42 respectively, living on the outskirts of Dallas, Texas, felt that despite both working full-time in stable jobs, their finances were stagnant. Their combined income covered essential bills, but barely enough was left to save for their children's college education or to build a decent retirement fund. Their salaries barely covered monthly expenses, and any unforeseen event, like a home repair or an illness, turned into a crisis. They felt trapped in an exhausting work routine without seeing any real progress in their financial security. The frustration of not being able to achieve their dreams, even with so much effort, was palpable. They saw their friends investing in real estate, starting side businesses, and building fortunes, while they could barely get by, and the concern for their children's uncertain future gnawed at them every day. The feeling of constantly chasing their tails was overwhelming. For many American families, primary income alone is not enough to build wealth or achieve significant financial goals, especially in a landscape of inflation and rising costs. This is where strategies for extra income and smart investments come into play, transforming earning potential and financial futures. Extra income doesn't necessarily mean a second full-time job. It can involve leveraging existing skills and talents, selling products, or utilizing idle assets. The growth of the gig economy, for example, offers numerous flexible opportunities to supplement income. In the realm of investments, the key is to understand the basic principles of diversification, time horizon, and risk tolerance. Investing in a diversified portfolio of low-cost exchange-traded funds or mutual funds, which track market performance, is an accessible strategy for most, offering long-term growth with manageable risk. Ignoring inflation and leaving money idle in a savings account, which yields little or nothing in real terms, are common mistakes that erode purchasing power over time, making wealth accumulation impossible. The analysis of Maria and Carlos's situation revealed that the problem wasn't excessive spending, but rather the limitation of income and the absence of an active financial growth plan. They needed not only to cut expenses, which they already did reasonably well, but to actively increase their cash flow and, crucially, make their money work for them through investments. The couple's method of overcoming this began with exploring extra income opportunities, aligned with their talents and available time. Maria, who was excellent at organization and had a natural flair for interior design, started offering home organizing services and decorating consultations on weekends to friends and acquaintances, publicizing her work in local Facebook groups and by word of mouth. Carlos, a former amateur mechanic with a passion for cars, began performing small repairs and basic car maintenance for neighbors in his garage, charging a fair price. These small income sources, which were previously considered insignificant or just hobbies, began to add up, turning into a consistent injection of extra cash. With this extra money, they sought education on basic investments, starting with free online courses and introductory books. They opened a brokerage account on a low-cost platform, and with the help of an initial online financial advisor, began investing in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, which tracks the performance of the 500 largest U.S. companies, and in a bond fund for diversification. They automated small monthly contributions to these funds, focusing on long-term growth and the power of compound interest. The practical conclusion for Maria and Carlos was that proactivity in income generation and intelligent investing are crucial for building wealth and achieving financial dreams. They learned that one doesn't need to be a financial expert or have a fortune to start investing, and that small amounts, when invested consistently and over a long period, can grow exponentially. Patience and consistency outweigh the pursuit of quick and risky returns. Today, Maria and Carlos' extra income not only covers their children's college expenses but also allows them to save more for retirement. Their investment portfolio, though still growing, is solidifying and gives them a sense of security. They feel more confident and in control of their financial future, knowing that they are actively building a legacy for their family instead of just surviving month to month. The combination of multiple income streams with smart investments transformed their outlook on life and opened up a horizon of possibilities that once seemed unattainable. Robert, a 55-year-old software engineer in Seattle, Washington, had overcome a severe financial crisis years ago after the dot-com bubble burst in the early 2000s, causing him to lose his high-paying job and much of his savings in tech stocks. He rebuilt his financial life with great effort, discipline, and sacrifice, learning hard lessons about diversification and risk. However, the fear of another crisis constantly haunted him, a shadow that hung over his peace of mind. He saved aggressively, cut expenses wherever he could, but felt it was never enough to truly feel secure. The idea that a new unforeseen event, another recession, or an unexpected illness could knock him down again kept him constantly alert, anxious about the future. Robert sought not just stability, but true financial security that would protect him from future storms, and the dilemma was how to balance the need for security with the desire to enjoy the present and prepare for a comfortable retirement without living in constant panic and deprivation. Building a financially sustainable and resilient future means much more than just getting out of debt. It means implementing proactive strategies that ensure long-term financial resilience and the ability to withstand economic shocks. One of the essential pillars is asset diversification, not just in investments, but also, if possible, in income sources. Relying on a single source of income, no matter how robust it seems, is a considerable risk. Another fundamental pillar is maintaining a robust emergency fund, ideally covering 3 to 6 months of basic expenses for periods of unemployment or illness, and kept in a separate, easily accessible account. This financial cushion is the first line of defense against unforeseen events and prevents small crises from turning into financial disasters. Retirement planning is crucial and should start early, taking full advantage of employer-sponsored retirement plans, with employer matching contributions, or investing in individual retirement accounts. Protecting assets through adequate insurance is also vital to mitigate significant financial risks that can arise from illness or disability. Finally, periodic review and adaptation of the financial plan is essential. Life changes, and financial goals and strategies must adjust to these changes, ensuring that the plan remains relevant, effective, and aligned with the individual's life objectives. The analysis of Robert's situation revealed that, although he was saving exemplarily, his fear stemmed from the lack of a long-term strategy and well-defined risk protection. He had the habit of saving, but he needed to optimize where his money was being allocated and how it was protected against life's adversities. Robert's method of overcoming this focused on creating a comprehensive and future-proof financial plan. First, he worked with a certified financial planner, an expert who helped him diversify his investments beyond just stocks, including government bonds, real estate investment trusts, and even gold to reduce volatility and protect his capital in different economic scenarios. He also ensured his emergency fund was fully funded and invested in an easily accessible location that yielded more than a common savings account, such as a high-yield savings account. Next, he thoroughly reviewed his insurance policies, ensuring he had adequate disability coverage, which would protect him financially if he couldn't work due to a serious health issue. He also adjusted his life insurance policy to reflect his new needs and ensure his family's security. Additionally, Robert began contributing the maximum possible to his 401k, taking advantage of his company's full matching contribution, and explored the possibility of having a secondary passive income stream, such as investment dividends or renting out an extra property, to reduce reliance on his primary salary, thereby creating multiple cash flows. The practical conclusion for Robert was that financial security is not just about saving, but about intelligent planning, protection, and diversification. He learned that while fear is a natural response after a financial crisis, the answer is not just to accumulate money haphazardly, but to build a resilient and adaptable financial system. Today, Robert feels more at ease and confident about his future. He no longer lives in constant panic because he knows he has a solid plan to protect his assets and continue building his wealth and enjoying a comfortable retirement. The annual review of his financial plan with his advisor helps him stay focused and make adjustments as needed, ensuring he's on the right path to a comfortable retirement and a secure future. His story shows that true financial freedom comes from peace of mind, achieved through careful planning, consistent actions, and a proactive mindset toward finances.